Did you know that one of the most convincing alien landscapes in the history of cinema wasn't created with millions of dollars of CGI or even elaborate optical effects? It was created in a bowl of poison. That swirling, sentient ocean that has haunted nightmares for 50 years was actually a toxic brew of acetone and aluminum powder, mixed by a crew who were arguably high on the fumes. But that is just the surface. What if I told you that the main actress had to rehearse in secret because the director forbade it? Or that the author of the original book hated this movie so much he called it a crime? Welcome back to Golden Flicker. Today we are stepping into the space station that changed sci-fi forever. We are dissecting Andrei Tarkovsky's 1972 masterpiece, Solaris. If you think you know sci-fi, lasers, aliens, and warp drives, prepare to have those expectations dismantled. We are going to uncover the 13 most fascinating, chaotic, and profound stories behind the production of this Soviet classic. From secret feuds with Stanley Kubrick to the invisible cameras hidden in mirrors, we are peeling back the layers of the film that proved outer space is terrifying, not because of what's out there, but because of what we bring with us. But first, let's set the coordinates. Solaris was released in 1972, right in the middle of the Cold War space race. But while the Americans were looking at the moon, Tarkovsky was looking inward. The story follows psychologist Chris Kelvin, played by Donatas Banionis, who travels to a space station orbiting the oceanic planet Solaris. His mission? To figure out why the crew has gone insane. He quickly realizes the planet is a sentient intelligence capable of reading the crew's sleeping minds and physically manifesting their deepest, most traumatic memories. For Kelvin, this means facing his deceased wife, Hari, who committed suicide years prior. It is a ghost story wrapped in a spacesuit. Do you remember the first time you watched it? Did the slow, hypnotic pace pull you in, or did it push you away? Hold that memory, because we are about to explain why that pacing was a weapon used by the director. Let's begin our countdown of secrets. Number 13. The toxic ocean. Let's start with that hypnotic visual I mentioned. The planet Solaris is covered by a mysterious, ever-shifting ocean. In 1972, there were no computers to generate fluid dynamics. Western sci-fi films often used miniatures or optical printing to create alien worlds. Tarkovsky, he wanted something organic. He wanted something that felt alive and unpredictable. The special effects team, led by cinematographer Vadim Yusov, created the effect using a solution of acetone and aluminum powder. The volatility of the acetone meant the mixture was constantly moving and evaporating, while the aluminum powder gave it that strange, metallic, heavy sheen. They filmed these chemical reactions in close-up, overlaying different shots and adjusting the speed to create that thick, swirling texture. It wasn't just a special effect, it was practically a chemistry experiment gone wrong. The result is a texture that feels genuinely alien because it follows the laws of fluid dynamics, yet looks nothing found on Earth. It is a perfect example of practical ingenuity beating technical perfection. Number 12. The impossible mirror room. While the planet was a chemical trick, the space station required an architectural one. Tarkovsky and his production designer, Mikhail Romadin, faced a unique problem. They wanted the space station to feel claustrophobic yet futuristic, filled with reflective surfaces to symbolize the theme of reflection and identity. But if you build a room full of mirrors, where do you put the camera? Romadin came up with a brilliant, low-tech solution. He designed a mirror room specifically for a crucial scene. To hide the camera operator, Vadim Yusov, during a 360-degree pan, they placed him inside a specially constructed mirrored sphere. The camera shot through a small hole, and because the sphere was mirrored, it reflected the rest of the room, effectively making the cameraman invisible to the viewer. It's a magician's trick applied to cinematography. Next time you watch that scene, try to spot the distortion. You likely won't find it. It's seamless, allowing the audience to feel completely immersed in the disorienting reality of the station. Number 11. The casting switcheroo. Now, let's talk about the heart of the film. Hurry, the tragic manifestation of Kelvin's dead wife. The performance is heartbreaking, ethereal, and terrifying. But the face we know, Natalya Bondarchuk, wasn't the first choice. In fact, she was almost rejected entirely. Tarkovsky's initial pick for the role was his ex-wife, Irma Rausch. When that didn't materialize, he met a young film student named Natalya Bondarchuk. His first reaction, she was too young. He actually recommended her to another director, Larisa Shepitko, essentially passing her off. However, after seeing her performance in Shepitko's film, Tarkovsky realized he had made a mistake. He saw a depth and maturity that betrayed her age. He brought her back, and thank goodness he did. Tarkovsky later ranked her as the best actor in the entire cast, stating she outshone everyone. It is a classic Hollywood, or rather Mosfilm, tale. The role that almost got away became the defining performance of the film. Number 10. The actress who saved the movie. Here is a twist that most fans don't know. Natalya Bondarchuk wasn't just a lucky actress who got a part. She is arguably the reason the movie exists in the form we know it. Before production began, Tarkovsky was looking for his next project. It was actually Bondarchuk who introduced him to Stanisław Lem's novel Solaris. She gave him the book, sparking his interest in adapting it. Can you imagine? A young student hands a book to one of the world's most intimidating directors, and that gesture leads to a masterpiece. Bondarchuk's influence didn't stop there. Because she was young and part of Tarkovsky's circle, her interpretation of Hari, bringing a raw emotional vulnerability, helped shift the focus of the film. While she didn't change the script physically, her naturalistic and emotionally intense approach encouraged Tarkovsky to lean harder into the psychological aspect of the character, rather than treating her as a mere sci-fi prop. She wasn't just a puppet, she was a muse in the truest sense. Number 9. The lived-in universe. Let's look at the set design again. If you watch sci-fi movies from the 60s and 70s, particularly American ones, everything is white, pristine, and shiny. Think of the interiors in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Clean, sterile, like an Apple store in orbit. Tarkovsky hated that. He wanted the Solaris station to look like people actually lived there. He instructed the design team to clutter the sets. You see old papers, scattered books, uneven surfaces, and worn-out equipment. The design includes a 1960s mainframe computer lent by an aerospace scientist, but it sits alongside personal debris. This lived-in aesthetic was a deliberate artistic statement. Tarkovsky believed that even in space, humans would still be messy, sentimental creatures. We don't suddenly become organized robots just because we leave the atmosphere. This aesthetic choice influenced decades of later sci-fi, from the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars to the Nostromo in Alien. He made the future look dusty. Number 8. Painting with sound. The atmosphere of Solaris is thick enough to cut with a knife, and half of that credit goes to the sound. It doesn't sound like an orchestra, and it doesn't sound like a synthesizer, at least not a normal one. The score was composed by Eduard Artemiev using the ANS synthesizer. This was a legendary, one-of-a-kind Soviet machine. Unlike a keyboard where you press keys, the ANS synthesizer worked by photo optics. The composer would spread a black mastic over a glass plate and then draw lines on it. A light would scan the drawing and convert the visual pattern into sound. Think about that. Artemiev wasn't playing music, he was painting it. This allowed him to create abstract textures that had no equivalent in nature, sounds that blurred the line between music and sound effects. He mixed these electronic drawings with natural sounds like leaves and water, creating a sonic, uncanny valley. It perfectly mirrored the theme of the movie, the artificial trying to imitate the natural. We are halfway through our scan of the Solaris station. If you're enjoying this deep dive into cinema history, illuminate our day by hitting that like button. It tells the algorithm that smart sci-fi still matters. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Golden Flicker. We dig up the stories that other channels forget. Also, we want to hear from you. Which classic sci-fi film should we decode next? Is it Stalker, Blade Runner, or something deeper in the archives? Let us know in the comments right now. Now, are you ready to hear about how the director tortured his actors? Let's get back to it. Number 7. The no rehearsal torture. We know Tarkovsky loved naturalism, but his methods for getting it were intense. He wanted the acting to feel spontaneous, raw, and unrehearsed, so he simply refused to rehearse the scenes. Imagine being an actor, preparing for an emotionally devastating scene where you have to portray a suicidal ghost, and the director won't let you practice? It created a tense atmosphere on set. The pressure was so high that Natalya Bondarchuk and Donata Spagnoles began rehearsing in secret, hiding away from the director just to get their lines right. Tarkovsky was also obsessed with physical authenticity. He would step in right before a take and mess up Bondarchuk's hair or adjust her clothes to make her look more disheveled. He wanted to catch them off guard. Bondarchuk even physically injured herself during the scene where Hari resurrects and thrashes in convulsions, throwing her body against the set. That pain you see on screen, a lot of it was very, very real. Number 6. The battle with the censors. Making a movie in the Soviet Union in the 1970s was never just about art. It was about survival. The Soviet State Committee for Cinematography, Goskino, was notoriously strict. When they reviewed Solaris, they weren't happy. They demanded edits. They wanted the film to be more optimistic because the future of Soviet space travel had to be bright, not a psychological nightmare. They also wanted to remove all allusions to religion and God. Tarkovsky, being the stubborn artist he was, resisted. He made minor concessions but refused to cut the spiritual core of the film. He fought to keep the references to God and the bleak meditative tone. It is a miracle the film was released at all, considering it posits that space exploration might just be a giant mirror for human suffering. Number 5. The author hated it. You might think having a great movie made from your book is a writer's dream. For Stanisław Lem, the author of Solaris, it was a nightmare. Lem famously hated Tarkovsky's adaptation. He felt that Tarkovsky had completely missed the point of his novel. The book is about the impossibility of communicating with an alien intelligence. It's a hard sci-fi concept about epistemology. Lem complained that the movie focused so much on the erotic problems of the characters and their guilt, pushing the mysterious planet into the background. He wanted a story about the alien. Tarkovsky gave him a story about the human. They argued bitterly. Lem even said he had fundamental reservations about the adaptation. It's a classic case of two geniuses looking at the same story and seeing two completely different universes. Number 4. the Kurosawa seal of approval. While the author hated it, another legend loved it. During the filming at Mosfilm Studios, a visitor dropped by. Akira Kurosawa, the director of Seven Samurai and Rashomon. Kurosawa was visiting the USSR and came to the set. He was reportedly awestruck by the production design and Tarkovsky's unique approach. Later, Kurosawa wrote about the experience, expressing admiration for how Tarkovsky managed to create such a deep sense of genuine fear and spiritual depth within the sci-fi genre. When a titan like Kurosawa walks onto your set and says, "Good job," you know you are doing something right. It validated Tarkovsky's struggle against the censors and the critics. And we've arrived at the golden flicker moment. Number 3, the Anti-Kubrick Manifesto. This is the secret that unlocks the entire film. Many people compare Solaris to Stanley Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey, released 4 years earlier. They are often called the Eastern and Western masterpieces of space cinema. But Tarkovsky didn't just make Solaris to compete with Kubrick. He made it to correct him. Tarkovsky viewed 2001, A Space Odyssey as sterile and lifeless. He felt Kubrick was too obsessed with the technology, the ships, the computers, the silent ballet of machines. Tarkovsky famously said he wanted to make a film that was the complete opposite. He believed that art should focus on the human spirit, not hardware. He said, "We don't need other worlds. We need a mirror." This is why the space station in Solaris is messy. This is why the characters are sweating, crying, and bleeding. This is why there are no laser battles. Tarkovsky's golden flicker insight was that space doesn't change who we are, it magnifies it. While Kubrick showed us the next step in human evolution through A Star Child, Tarkovsky showed us that no matter how far we travel into the stars, we can never escape our own memories, our own guilt, and our own love. He grounded the infinite cosmos in the finite human heart. Do you agree this is the golden flicker moment? Number 2. The philosophical core. This leads directly to the philosophical core of the movie, which is perhaps the darkest fact of all. The planet Solaris isn't just a monster, it's a test. The film posits that we aren't ready for contact with aliens because we don't even understand ourselves. The ocean gives the characters exactly what they subconsciously want, and it destroys them. The realization Kelvin has is that Harry, the copy of his wife, is in some ways more human than he is, because she is capable of selfless love, while he is trapped in his own selfishness. The film asks, if a memory can feel pain, is it real? It challenges the definition of reality itself, suggesting that our subjective experience, our love and our grief, is the only reality that matters. Number 1. The legacy. Finally, we look at the ripple effect. Solaris was initially met with mixed reviews in the Soviet Union, but it has since become a cornerstone of world cinema. Its influence is everywhere. You see it in Christopher Nolan's Interstellar, which also deals with love transcending dimensions. You see it in Annihilation, where an alien force refracts DNA and memory. You see it in Arrival, which prioritizes communication and emotion over war. Tarkovsky proved that sci-fi could be high art. He proved that you could make a movie about spaceships that was actually about the human soul. He took the genre out of the B-movie ghetto and put it in the museum. Solaris remains a challenging watch. It is slow, it is dense, and it refuses to give you easy answers. But that is exactly why it has survived for over 50 years. It forces us to look into the mirror. The acetone ocean has long since evaporated, and the ANS synthesizer is now a museum piece. But the question Tarkovsky asked remains. When we finally meet the unknown, will we embrace it, or will we just see our own reflection and be terrified? If you discovered something new today, illuminate our day by clicking like and subscribe to Golden Flicker so you never miss a story from the annals of cinema history. And don't forget to drop your suggestions for our next video below.